Welcome back to the 504 Core Podcast. We're with Zack Nagy again. What's been up, Zach?
Man, not too much. We're in the midst of kind of a weird spot right now with sports. It's really just baseball and transfer portal kind of clicking on all cylinders. So we got some recruiting buzz to talk about here. We got some football, women's basketball, men's basketball. But other than that, it's an interesting time for sports. We're kind of hitting the decline, starting to get close to that off season with college athletics. So interesting time. Still some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, let's start on a high note. Let's start with LSU baseball. Obviously, they got a pretty big series win against Tennessee. Things got a little murky Friday night, and then Saturday night didn't look that the best. But what were your main takeaways from the weekend?
Yeah, I think for me, man, you sit back and you look at the power of Derek Carriol. I mean, this guy is just an absolute stud. When you talk about those main takeaways, number one is the freshman phenom, and he came back and he won SEC Freshman of the Week for good reason after that performance. So this is a kid who's really just piecing together an impressive freshman campaign. Just continues to impress, batting over 400 for the week. I think it was over 460 for the week. So he's just been a sensational player and really propelled them in game three. But in order to get to that series win, it started with the comeback on Friday night in Alex Box Stadium and ended with Jared Jones just hitting that blast to win the game. I mean, I think that ball just came down like today. He hit that thing like 480. So an absolute bomb. The team's really clicking. You're starting to see some consistency in that lineup 1 through 9. Your pitching is really, really intriguing. I mean, you're kind of bumping Chase Shores off the bump, no pun intended, but throwing in Kason Evans, the true freshman. I mean, it's fantastic, Mike. This team's really clicking. You saw them showcase that in a 3-game series against Tennessee. So exciting to see some youngsters step in the mix, some consistency at the plate, consistency on the mound. I mean, they might be clicking at the right time. I don't want to jinx them, but they're looking hot.
Yeah, the bats are starting to kind of come into fruition here. I mean, the runner in scoring positions they couldn't get it done the past few weeks. So,
Yep.
yeah, hopefully they can kind of click in and lock in and get it done. Did you stay up for night one? I think the game ended at like 1:20 a.m. Did you stay for the whole thing?
Well, I was at a wedding that night,
Oh,
so I didn't even get to be there in person, but everybody's kind of there watching it and stuff, watching it go down. So I got to watch it live, just not in person. And my goodness, one of the best half innings of baseball I've seen in a really good time. I mean, to put that many runs in the blink of an eye, I mean, I feel like it happened just instantaneously. So some really good baseball, and you can't sleep on this lineup. I mean, it no matter how much they're down at any point in the game, they have the power and consistency to really battle back. And we saw that come kind of full circle on Friday night in Alex Box. So it was impressive. This team's looking really hot right now.
yeah, I was up till about like 12:30, and then I was watching it. I think Larson like grounded out or something. There was a guy on first and second, and they were down like 2 or 3 runs. And I was like, "Oh, screw this! I'm going to bed."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I wake up to people screaming downstairs. I'm just like, "What is going on?" I almost grabbed my gun. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" But yeah, I was just like, "All right, something's happening." But yeah, no, that was a pretty impressive win. What'd you make of the umpire getting behind Jones, telling him to run? I see a lot of stuff online about
Look,
that.
man, that is so. I don't know. I think baseball, in a way, I understand the tradition and I understand those unwritten rules and stuff of the sport. I mean, it's obviously it's there, it's valid. Everybody likes to talk about it, but for me, if you want to continue to get viewership up in the sport, you got to have some juice. You got to have some type of tenacity on the field, and we saw a lot of that from Jared Jones over the weekend. I mean, getting in that dude's face on first base, obviously sitting there and watching that 450, 480-foot bomb just to the batter's eye go over. So I love seeing him be tenacious. I love seeing him kind of strut his stuff. I don't necessarily like the refs kind of just not allowing guys to showboat nowadays. It's been really evident in college baseball, of course, obviously in the pros too. But not the biggest fan of the umpire getting involved there and kind of chirping at him. But I love Jared Jones's explanation. He was on mic'd up the other night and kind of just said that he was telling him the game's over, and we saw it was over, and he went around the bases.
Yeah, I mean, people are giving the ump a little bit of grief. I kind of understand. I mean, it's probably the ump's job to tell him to keep walking or keep moving rather than just sitting there and watching it. So, but yeah, it was just let the kid have his moment. I guess. I guess there's somewhere in the middle for that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I was talking with somebody. We were talking about the players that would come back. Let's start off with the players that they'd possibly lose. So, who do you think's gone after this year for
Yeah, you
LSU?
lose guys like Danny Dickinson, you lose guys like Jared Jones, Cade Anderson's a draft eligible sophomore, so he's out of the mix as well.
I mean, he's gonna be a top 10 pick, right?
Yeah, so those are three guys right off the bat that are huge losses to the lineup. You lose Broswell as well to eligibility. So four guys right there that are super impactful players. Josh Pearson, too. He departs the program. So five guys that are super impactful in this lineup, Mike, that, they go and begin their professional careers for good reason. But then you talk about the guys that can come back. And whether it is a guy like Jake Brown or obviously William Schmidt coming back, Derek Curiel coming back, Maverick Rizzi coming back, Kason Evans. Your true freshmen are disgusting. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Your true freshmen are gross. Like Derek Curiel is insane. William Schmidt is dominating. Kason Evans, fantastic. He'll be a Friday night starter before he departs the program. I mean, you have players that are coming back that are true freshmen that are just scratching the surface. And of course, you're bringing in the number one recruiting class in America as well in the 2025 class. So you're restocking and reloading for the future. You're losing some players, but you're also getting some key contributors back in the mix too that are going to make an impact.
You think Ianson's gone too, right?
That's the assumption, that he's going to be kind of a one and done with LSU.
Okay, and then you think I know Milam's draft eligible. You think Milam would come back, or is it kind of just up in the air right now?
Look, you're entering a spot right now where NIL is such a pivotal role in college athletics, where maybe you stay and maybe you enjoy kind of the college process, get some money while you're at it. I think playing baseball in Alex box and living that college experience is a little bit better than going to single A rookie ball baseball. So it's a completely different way of life. I could see a lot of those draft eligible players making the decision to return. I think we're starting to see that more and more in basketball. You saw the early entry list for the NBA draft. Kind of the numbers are diminishing a little bit. NFL, the same thing. I think baseball, you'll start to see it happen a little bit more too. We saw guys like Jared Jones come back. We saw guys like Michael Broswell come back. So it's definitely something that we're going to see more and more of. So when it comes to draft eligible guys like Stephen Milam, who knows? He could be a guy that certainly comes back in 2026.
And then I saw, Chase Shores is supposed to be a top 10 pick before the season even started. He's kind of slid a little bit. Do you think he could possibly come back as well? I would assume, unless he catches fire at the end. But yeah, what do you think about that?
I think he's definitely a guy who would probably benefit by going back to college for another year, whether it's at LSU or entering the portal and going somewhere else. Obviously, LSU's pitching rotation is really, really hot right now. They've got a bunch of guys, and you're throwing Kason Evans in right now, the true freshman, as a Sunday starter. So does that kind of move Chase Shores out of the lineup next year too, with guys coming in, guys coming back? So I think Chase Shores could benefit by coming back to school for another year, whether it's at LSU or somewhere else. But a guy who's coming back from Tommy John surgery, a player who could really hit his stride in the blink of an eye, who knows when they give him an opportunity and if he really does click. But nonetheless, it's been a challenging year for the youngster coming off of that injury, and I think he'll benefit from another year if he makes that decision.
What's the latest you've heard with Devin Sharon? I know he's a transfer, big kid, big arm, tore his ACL early in the year. I know Jay Johnson was kind of hinting that he could possibly play. Have you heard anything about him?
Yeah, so he went through a simulated game the other day, kind of to get into a groove right there and kind of get his legs back underneath him. Like you said, he's coming off of a torn ACL. So it was always going to take some time. But, man, we're sitting here at around that 10-month mark since he tore that ACL. He tore it over the summer last year, right when he got to campus. So realistically, we're entering that time where he could be ready. And you're looking at another bullpen arm that could get you going in the postseason. I mean, the pitching rotation is sensational. And you add a guy like Sheeran in the mix who was dominant in 2024. I mean, this guy was just blazing hot last season. There was a reason why Jay Johnson hit up his line right once he entered the portal. So I think Sheeran is going through simulated games right now, continuing to work his way in. And I think you could see him get on the bump sooner rather than later as the regular season winds down and postseason gets closer.
Yeah, I hope he comes back, or that'd be a nice arm. I feel like they're like one arm away from really just taking off. But I mean, their bats are there at times, but when the bats are on, they're a tough team to beat. Guidry's coming back too, right, for next year. I'm trying to think any other pitchers. Oh, would Cohen come back, or what do you think?
It's a good question. I'd have to look at his eligibility. I forget how many years he was at Wofford, but if he has eligibility remaining, I would assume he'd come back for the 2026 season.
I kind of feel like if they get like Milam and then maybe one or two other guys that weren't expected to stay to come back, I think it's a pretty good pitch. Be like, hey, superstars coming back. This guy's coming back. And you're like, let's win a natty. So I'm sure there'll be 3 or 4 freshmen that Jay Johnson will recruit that will come in and compete and do well. And transfer portal is always there as well. So you said they had the number 1 class in 2025.
Yeah, man, he doesn't sleep. He continues to really just dominate the recruiting realm. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has like 9 more top 100 players coming to campus. I mean, that's the number 1 class right now. Things can change once the MLB draft comes around and players obviously get selected and keep their name in the draft and whatnot and sign professional contracts. But as it stands right now from a commitment perspective, I mean, once again, you're looking at just a dominant class coming in.
So what they have last year at top 100, it was like Schmidt, Curiel, who else?
Aaron Beatty, Rizzi,
Okay. Yeah,
Cooper
okay.
Williams. I mean,
I feel like if they can get 3 of them, I feel like that'll be pretty successful.
But dude, last year alone, I mean, William Schmidt, Derek Curiel, and Aaron Beatty were all 3 guys that are top 15 prospects in the country. All 3 of them were expected to go pro. Fast forward, William Schmidt ultimately pulls his name out the draft. Derek Curiel pulled his name out first. Really, what happened was Curiel took his name out, and from there he started to do the recruiting pitch for William Schmidt because Schmidt was projected to go first round. This was a round 1 guy, and Curiel put his recruiting cap on, told him, let's be roommates, stay in Baton Rouge, stay with me, and ultimately William Schmidt made that decision. Aaron Beatty did the same, and I mean, the rest is history. You have 3 guys that were top 15 prospects that made their way to campus, which is unprecedented. So we can see a lot of the same happen in 2026. I mean, obviously, quote unquote, 2026. It'll be summer 2025 where they make the decision. But you can see that 2026 roster be reloaded once again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like momentum will carry with the roster. Some guys come back that were maybe thinking they're going to the draft. I think they'll carry, especially if they go deep into Omaha. They show what this team can really be. I think it's going to be pretty insane actually for next year's team. So, it's really, really exciting times for LSU baseball. You want to talk a little football?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot. I mean, obviously the season's not starting or hasn't started yet, but the transfer portal's heating up a little bit. Brian Kelly lied to us and said he wasn't going to take anyone in the spring. Is this considered a spring portal?
Yep.
Yeah, he said that. We all knew that was BS because they kind of need a D lineman and another safety. But they got Bernard Gooden. I would assume NIL played a big part in that, opportunity as well. So you want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, I think once you entered this spring window of the transfer portal, the 2 main focuses were defensive tackle and the safety room. And to get momentum rolling, Bernard Gooden was your first piece, that first domino that needed to fall your way. And like you said, there's an opportunity there for him to get some playing time. He's a guy from South Florida, 6'1", 280, a little bit undersized, but he could play that Makai Wingo role 2 years ago. So I'm not surprised by the addition at all. He was the number 1 available player in the portal once he committed to LSU. So he was productive at the AAC level. He came to South Florida from Wake Forest. So a guy who garnered Power 4 interest out of high school now makes his way to LSU. And a guy who could really step in the mix and make some impactful snaps if need be. Defensive tackle, you got Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Breaux. I mean, those are your 1A, 1B options in the trenches. Then you look at guys like Shedeur Mitchell, the Texas transfer, Shone Washington. And then you could start to look at Bernard Gooden getting some more reps in once he gets his legs underneath him in Baton Rouge. So not necessarily a depth piece per se, but a guy that definitely is going to be a player going behind Ahmad Breaux and Dominic McKinley unless he shows some big-time flashes this offseason. So good addition. Obviously, got to campus to LSU and had visits on deck to Ole Miss, SMU, and a bunch of other schools. I think it's a testament to LSU's new NIL strategy that they have to get him to shut things down fresh off the visit and not go check in with other programs. So a big-time move there to get Gooden in the mix, a player that has a lot of upside.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I really don't know. So who do you think there's a lock at defensive tackle for a starter, or is it just kind of open competition?
Yeah, I'm looking at Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Breaux as your 2 starters in the trenches. I see no reason why they would lose that spot. They played first-team roles all throughout camp. Shedeur Mitchell still has some conditioning that he needs to work on. Shone Washington's been utilized as a depth piece since he got to Baton Rouge. So for me, I think you look at Ahmad Breaux and Dominic McKinley, 2 rising sophomores who played some big-time snaps down the stretch last year. I think you look at those 2 guys to really take that next step and elevate in 2025. I think those are your 2 starters that you could pencil in.
What about Guillory? You don't think Guillory would start over Bro or?
It's a good question. I think it's going to take time for him to get his legs back underneath him. I think he's going to take meaningful snaps. I think he's going to take some big time reps, but it's going to take some time. I think when you look at week 1 at Clemson, it's going to be Bro and McKinley. Unless Jacobian has a really good fall camp, I can't necessarily see the future there, but he's ahead of schedule, and we had the chance to talk to him about it, and he feels comfortable with where he's at. He's had no setbacks, but I think in 2025, McKinley and Bro are your two guys right there. Guillory's going to take some big time snaps. Just going to take some time to get back in the mix.
Did he have an ACL or was it a Achilles? It was Achilles, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty tough. Who were some players that kind of stood out during camp recently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick at the defensive line right now, talking about the Shedeur Mitchell. I mean, the Texas transfer looked solid. It's hard to sit back and nitpick what he did during camp. He's big bodied, 6'6". They list him at 255, or I'm sorry, 355, and that's very generous. I mean, he is a full 380. This dude is a monster. I mean, to list him at that almost isn't really fair, just because he's so dang big. Had a really good camp. If you're looking at guys in the trenches that looked the part, you got to include Shedeur Mitchell in that conversation. He looked fantastic. Other guys up front, Patrick Payton showed flashes. Jack Pyburn is a versatile piece that they're going to use a lot of. Gabriel Relaford, your edge room is your best room on the entire defense. It's not even close. It starts with the trio of transfers in Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, and Jamari Butler. You bring back Gabe Relaford. That two deep depth chart is sensational. And then flip to the other side of the ball. Barry and Brown, Mike, that dude's going to make some big plays this year. I think he has the chance to continue to elevate his game. He shined with Kentucky over the last couple of years, and he didn't really have a quarterback worth a damn. So you give him Garrett Nussmeier, and I think that unlocks a big piece to your offense in that vertical threat. So I like what I saw from the edge room. I liked what I saw from Barry and Brown. I think offensively you've got some guys that can really, really make an impact. Those are just a couple of guys. I could go on and on.
Do you think Barry and Brown's wide receiver 1?
No, I can't say that yet. He didn't necessarily get the most first team reps. I really thought that we were going to see a little bit more of that. Your first team stayed consistently Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, and Xavier Thomas. You saw guys like Barry and Brown get in the mix too, but for the most part, LSU was utilizing those guys that were returning pieces to take first team reps. Barry and Brown was running with the twos a lot, but once he got first team reps, him and Garrett Nussmeier had rapport like no other.
What about tight end? Obviously Green, but he's more like a receiver. Is there any like tight ends that kind of stood out?
Yeah,
they got the guy from Oklahoma, but I don't know.
I think when you're talking about spring camp standouts, I'm not. I kind of dropped the ball right there. I think Bauer Sharp might have been the true winner offensively if you're looking at everybody as a whole. I know I sat and talked about Barry and Brown. I think he's going to be impactful in the receiving room, but my goodness, Bauer Sharp is the real deal. I mean, he's the full package. He can put his hand in the dirt and block, kind of put his hand in the dirt and then peel off and kind of take on that Mason Taylor role where if you need a safety net and some check downs, he can really do that for you. So loved what I saw from him. He's dynamic. He's fun to watch. He's experienced. He led Oklahoma in receptions and receiving yards a season ago. So obviously he showcased talent in the SEC. It was Oklahoma. They struggled and they didn't have that solid of a passing game, but you got to give credit where it's due. And he did total over 30, 35 receptions on the year, over 300 yards receiving. So a guy that has the numbers and the production there in the SEC, I think Bauer Sharp's going to play a very, very, very nice role for this team. And you'll see a lot of 12 personnel with him and Trades on the field at the same time.
Yeah. One thing or two things I forgot to ask about for transfer portal wise. Who's that Houston safety they're looking at?
Yeah. So AJ Halsey is a Houston Cougars transfer, and he entered the portal about a week or two ago. And from there, the Miami Hurricanes had all the momentum. Ole Miss went and met with him in person too in Houston. So those were the two schools that were really taking a lot of attention there. And then LSU's gotten in the mix too. He's coming off a visit to Miami, so he's now met in person, face-to-face with Ole Miss in Miami. But Ole Miss took a safety over the weekend, and that might kind of push them out of the conversation. LSU's now starting to up their ante for Halsey. So AJ Halsey, an all Big 12 selection, a guy who's probably the most coveted player in the portal as it currently stands. And you're seeing Miami and LSU both really start to turn up the heat and try to battle down the stretch for him. him not committing to Miami after that visit is big. I mean, he's leaving today off of a 48-hour visit, and for him to not commit to this point is a really big win for LSU. So it gives them the chance to really try to put on their recruiting cap, see if they can get him down to Baton Rouge for a visit. And from there, it's going to be kind of full steam ahead and see what you can do. I definitely say Miami has the edge right now, but LSU's proven to be a force in the new transfer portal era in the NIL game. So we'll see what they can do from there. But I definitely think that this is an LSU Miami battle.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said it, like, you might as well just be wine and dine, right? So,
I mean, he was in Miami getting a police escort through Coral Gables, met up with Rick Ross last night. I mean, this dude got the red carpet treatment and then some. I mean, he looked like he was living about as lavishly as it can get. And for him to still not pop and still remain uncommitted to this point speaks volumes to maybe the pitch that LSU's trying to give to him. Hint, hint.
yeah, now that's yeah, some of these kids have it pretty nice. I saw like Keontae Scott. He was, he was an Auburn safety. LSU was kind of going after him, or reportedly going after him. I saw he recently decommitted from Houston. Is there any interest there? Have you heard anything about that, or not really?
I could see them utilizing him as maybe a plan B if they don't get Halsey, but I think there's that connection with Miami, man. Houston's defensive backs coach went to Miami. So that's why you're starting to see that connection there with AJ Halsey to Miami potentially, Keontae Scott to Miami potentially. There's a connection there that they're going to try to utilize the most. But like I said, you're going to see Halsey and Scott both get kind of a lot of interest from a lot of different programs. I'm not going to pencil them in as Miami players just yet. But obviously, they have that connection in the coaching staff that's going to kind of pave the way. We'll see what happens down the stretch. Two coveted guys.
Yeah, no, I think LSU will land probably one safety, whether it's him or Scott. But yeah, we'll see. One thing recruiting wise, they just landed a corner. I think it was kind of unexpected, right? They said he was just going to pick schools, and then he just, or like, pick his top 5 or whatever he's going to pick, and then all of a sudden he just commits to LSU. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, LSU went out and got Haven Finney Jr., kind of a West Coast guy out of Sierra Canyon in Los Angeles. This is a guy who had the who's who of college football really battling it out for him. LSU, USC, Ohio State, you name it. He had an offer, and a player that recently reclassified from the 2027 class to 2026. When he was in 2027, he was the number 1 cornerback in America, elected to reclassify, skipping his junior year, and he's now going to play his senior season in 2025. He's still a top 10 cornerback in the country. So speaks volumes to the player that he is, and ultimately to the recruiting efforts that Corey Raymond is doing. I mean, he's retooling, reconstructing that defensive backfield in Baton Rouge and trying to bring back that DBU kind of narrative back in the boot. So it's exciting. Haven Finney's a guy that fits that Corey Raymond prototype, 6'3", 170, 175, tall, lanky, can cover a lot of space in the blink of an eye. So Haven Finney's a dude, a player that you're going to have to battle for down the stretch. He picked LSU over USC, but Lincoln Riley and company are going to continue to fight for his services. So LSU's got the verbal commitment, but you're going to be battling until December to get that signature and have him put pen to paper on the dotted line. So as it stands, a big-time commitment, but one that you're going to be battling for a long, long time.
Are there any other players they're trending for right now?
Yeah, I think this summer is big, Mike. You're entering official visit season, and it's going to start this weekend. You're going to have some guys in town. It starts with Gavin Mueller, a tight end who has LSU among his finalists. He'll be in town. We'll see where he starts to trend, but this is one that LSU is really pushing for. Fast forward to June. That weekend of June 20th to 22nd, I mean, you are going to have just the who's who in town. You got Tristan Keys coming to town, Jabari Mack. Blaine Bradford was scheduled to come in. We'll see if he takes official visits after committing to Ohio State. Booby Feaster is on deck as well. We'll see when Haven Finney comes in for his official. But you're entering official visit season where it's going to get serious. And Lamar Brown is one that I'm looking at and kind of keeping tabs on down the stretch. It's an LSU Texas A&M battle. USC's kind of in the conversation. They're trying to become a contender, and he's certainly keeping them among his finalists. So those are some players to keep tabs on this summer that are taking official visits. But Lamar Brown is certainly one that I'm going to keep tabs on as the number 1 athlete in the country, playing both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah, is that true though? Like, are they really going to put him at both sides of the ball, or they just say that? Like, we've never really seen it done before, right?
He won't. he was the number one interior offensive lineman in the country, but then he started to inform programs that he really wants to play defense in college. So LSU's recruiting him as a defensive lineman as it stands right now. You could see him take some snaps at O-line if need be, if he gets to Baton Rouge and they need some depth. But he's informed A&M and he's informed LSU that he wants to play defensive tackle in college. He's listed as an athlete because he's playing both sides in high school, but the trajectory that he wants to be on is playing defense in college.
Yeah. Yeah, playing both sides of the ball on the line seems insane. I mean, that seems like a lot.
It's CTE in a nutshell. I mean, you're just
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's a lot of head banging.
yeah.
That seems, I'm not gonna say impossible. It seems close to impossible. So yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see. What do you think of the NFL draft picks by LSU? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Will Campbell was the worst kept secret ever. I think everybody knew that he was going to go to New England, and I think it's a good situation for him. You're going to a team that has obviously that history, that rich history of winning over there. He gets to protect Drake May and see what they can build up there. Mason Taylor, to me, is one that I love. I think this is a dynamic player who could have been a first rounder before it's all said and done. I love Mason Taylor, just a dynamic, balanced player who's going to give the Jets another weapon offensively because they're going to need some, obviously, in 2025. And then I think Braden Swinson's slipping all the way to New England in the fifth round. I think
That
they
was
got
crazy.
themselves. I think they got themselves a steal. I don't know, obviously, what happened behind closed doors during during the interview process or what those NFL decision makers were thinking, but to get him in the fifth round, I mean, I think he's just scratching the surface, Mike. I think this is a player who let him make that active roster and let him start to really, really prove himself. Yeah, I think they got themselves a dude.
Yeah, he seems kind of like the prototypical guy anyway. But I mean, Weeks and him were like the two main guys that really stood out last year. So I was really surprised he's going falling to the fifth. I was hoping the Saints would scoop him, but of course they didn't. They can't stand LSU players. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty interesting. I was looking today. I was like, I didn't even hear anything about Garrett Dellinger. Apparently got picked in the seventh round. So I think that's kind of a sneaky guy. I could see him maybe making a roster. He wasn't that bad last year. So,
Well, man, the question that I keep getting is how the hell does LSU have 4 offensive linemen get drafted and their run game be so poor in 2024? I mean, you had Dellinger, Miles Frazier, Emory Jones, Will Campbell all get picked, and your run game was still not that talented last year. I mean,
yeah,
your pass pro was solid, but the run game was not that good. So everybody keeps asking me about that. I wish I had the $1 million answer, but yeah, to have 4 offensive linemen drafted is obviously a big selling point on the recruiting trail for Brad Davis.
last question, because everyone has an opinion on this apparently. What do you make of Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah. I mean, you and we talked about it on Saturday. I mean, just I wish I had the answers. Behind closed doors, obviously the interview process didn't benefit him very well. On the field, I think Shedeur is a gamer. I think he made way with what he had offensively in Boulder. His offensive line was just not good. The run game was non-existent. He had to make way with what he could, and he produced on the field. I think this is a guy that has the chance to obviously compete for the starting spot in Cleveland when it comes down to it. But to slip to that, I just slipped that far. I mean, it makes me break character here because I mean, oh my gosh, to fall to the fifth round is mind boggling. I can't believe it. But nonetheless, the competition levels there in Cleveland. You got Dylan Gabriel there, Joe Flacco. My goodness, Pickett too. One of the most unique quarterback rooms in the NFL. For him to slide is an interesting one. But he got picked, and we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. He just overplayed his hand. The talent wasn't as strong as what he believed, and what I think people viewed him more as a backup quarterback. And yeah, he just overplayed his hand. I think it was as simple as that. So, from all the people, all the experts, quote unquote, they were just like, he was interviewing them, and instead of vice versa, he was usually guys are trying to sell themselves to organizations, and he had the expectation of organizations trying to sell themselves to him. So, yeah, I guess teams viewed him more as a backup, and they didn't want the baggage that came with the Sanders name. So I think it's pretty simple, but we'll see. That quarterback room in Cleveland's pretty nuts. So we'll see what happens.
We will. We're No comment on the Shedeur situation. That is insane. And no comment on that quarterback room. I mean, what, you're going to have Kenny Pickett ultimately be your lead guy, or what, you're going to cut him and give Flacco the
it'd
ring?
be Flacco, and then you'd probably do Gabriel and Sanders, and then I don't know, Deshaun's in the back, so I don't really know.
Worst situation ever. I mean, that is. Yep.
It's so Cleveland. I don't know how else to put it. So yeah. Anything else you got?
No, man, we hit on some good portal talk. Obviously, got some baseball convo in there too. Hit on the draft, Shedeur as well. I mean, my goodness.
You got to throw Shedeur in. Everyone has an opinion. So
yeah, no, we hit on everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys can like and subscribe, appreciate it, and see you next time.